extremely excited to be here. Odoo experience, another chance to connect with our community. My name is Raul. I'm one of the channel team leaders for the American market. And at work, I often interact with our end users. I interact a lot with our partners. But I also manage a team of 6 people. And I've truly immersed myself in how to make my team members overachieve all of our goals, which we have, and how to make them motivated, and how to make them effective at what they do. So here I brought a couple of our main characteristics that we have in Odoo so that partners can replicate these strategies and use them in their organizations and have also their people be effective. So let's dive into it. We have 5 pillars. The first one is our organization structure. The second, the people that we hire. The third, ramp up and learning. The fourth, the day-to-day and how do we organize our day-to-day. And the fifth, the actions that we take in order to bring the best out of our salespeople. So first, organizational structure. Very basic, but we have different teams. My team is in charge of bringing new revenue to the organization. We have another team, customer success, and they take care of renewing existing customers, renewing accounts. We have another team that takes care of tickets and of support. If my team were to be doing new sales, but also renewing existing customers, then they wouldn't be as effective as they are in what they do because their focus would be completely divided. And I often see salespeople from partner organizations where the salesperson is managing projects, answering support questions, and renewing existing clients. So they aren't as effective in achieving their targets. Well, first because they don't have a target, and then because their attention is completely divided. And that brings me to my second point. Have targets, have goals. The easiest way to get recurrent revenue is to have your salespeople bring recurrent new sales. But the only way to make that is if they have a target to look for. Also, pay them in commissions. And I can dive deeper into the commission strategy that we use at Odoo, and for sure we can talk more about it offline. I will be happy to share how we do it, and maybe you can also implement that in your organizations. The type of calls that you do. Inbound versus outbound sales. Inbound requires a set of skills, and outbound a completely different skill. So make sure that your salespeople are aware of what is expected from them. If it's inbound calls, then they have one job to do. But if it's outbound, then they'll have to find a lead first and then go and close this lead. So these are 2 completely different, like I said, job roles. Ramp up and learning. I'm going to dive very deep into the ramp up and learning period, but know that we at Odoo take it very seriously, and this is a key of our success. And then organized collaboration. Now more than ever, collaboration is not happening at the office anymore. Now we need to truly organize if we want our team members to collaborate, and there's true value out of collaboration. And I'm also going to talk more about this. So now that you have your organization, your base, hiring the right people, you will often hear Fabrice, our director in the Americas, and even Fabian, our CEO, talk about hiring. We grow at a 65th percentile average every year. That means that each team grows at a 65th percentile every year. We hire a lot. How do we hire? Well, we focus on skills and potential, not on experience. 90% of the people from my team don't have a background in ERP sales, but they've shown the skills and the potential. What are the skills that we look for? Communication skills. What we do is quite complicated. We need to be able to understand customer needs, but then talk about Odoo's value proposition and show Odoo's value in a way that inspires trust in the customer. Customers want to switch ERPs once in their lifetime. It's like a marriage. So they really want to trust the person that's selling them. And that's why communication skills is a key. Organizational skills. We need people that are able to consciously choose every day what is their most important actions. and what's not. When to say no. Confidence. Fast learner and quick to adapt. We launch a new version of Odoo every year. We need people that are able to turn the page, roll their sleeves, and execute. Self-motivated and driven. Ambitious. Creative. Coachable. This is my favorite. We hire people that are able to receive feedback and execute immediately on that feedback. We want people that want to grow with us. And growth happens with change, with feedback. Now, you have the organization, you've hired the right person. Ramp up and learning. How do you coach them? How do you train them? Well, we take this very seriously in Odoo. We take 3 months. And like I said, all of the salespeople in Odoo have a quota to meet. During these 3 months, they don't need to achieve that quota. We will cover it for them. During these 3 months, it's all about learning. What do they learn? Product knowledge. We use the same tools that are available for free for all partners on odoo.com/slides. We go through the same courses. We take the certification. We create use cases so that the new employees can show a demo solving a problem that we have created for them. We do 2-3 demos every week. So it's a key that new employees, especially if they're in sales, master how to do demos. Company, industry, and business model. It is extremely important that all of your salespeople understand how their sales contribute to the greater picture. How do they are making their organization grow every day? What does the industry look like? Who are the players in the industry? What are Odoo's strengths? What are Odoo's weaknesses? Which ones are our competitors' strengths, our competitors' weaknesses? Our business model, the type of revenue that we receive, recurring revenue versus non-recurring revenue. If an employee understands the bigger picture, they'll be able to bring more value to your organization. And sales, a lo que vinimos. This is what we're here for. We take a lot of time talking about sales. We shadow calls, they shadow our calls. We give feedback, we create demos, we shadow demos. And now, since the pandemic started, we partner new salespeople with more senior, more experienced salespeople so that they can also shadow their calls, shadow their demos. That used to happen naturally in the organization, but now we have to adapt. So now you have coached them. How do they organize their day-to-day? And you will hear this if you were on my team almost every day. If bringing new customers is your priority, then everything else is just secondary. Your priority needs to be your priority in your calendar and in your actions. How do we build that? How do we do that? We build habits. Why? Because success is repeated, consistent, good habits. If we want our salespeople to overachieve their goals, we need to show them habits so that they can consistently perform and take good actions, and then eventually they're going to get there. This is the calendar of Jimena. She will spend 2-3 hours in the morning, the first hours of the morning, calling leads, bringing new customers. This is Mark, 3 hours in the morning, prime time. During this time, he might not answer calls, he might not answer any questions. His focus will be reaching out to new customers. This is Ruben. Our top performers dedicate their prime time and the most amount of time focused on bringing new customers. On average, we do 25 calls per day. Some calls will last 15 minutes. A demo might take you an hour and a half. But we're able to do this because we prioritize on sales. We prioritize on making these calls. I want to quote General Vo Nguyen Yap. He was a Vietnamese general. He fought on World War II, the Vietnamese War, and the Indochina War. He was considered the best war strategist of the 20th century. And when he was asked, how was he able to lead his army so effectively? And how was he able to achieve so many things? He said, I was a professor of the jungle. And this is a beautiful metaphor because if we want to overachieve all of our goals, if we want to keep on growing at a 65 percentile, we need to become professors of what we do. We need to be experts. And that takes time, it takes repetition, it takes constant execution. Now bring in the best. How do you motivate your employees so that they come every day motivated, ready to achieve their goals? How do you do that while a pandemic is happening? I remember the first meeting that I had with my team. After the pandemic hit, we were all in our houses. And everybody was looking to get answers from the outside. Some customers had put a stop on big deals, and they didn't want to commit for longer periods of time because they didn't know what was going to happen with the economy. And that first meeting, I decided to empower them. And I quoted one of my favorite authors, Viktor Frankl, in one of his books. Viktor Frankl is a psychologist. He survived the Holocaust. And in one of his books, he said, when we're no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And I asked my team, we cannot control the pandemic. We cannot control that customers are feeling more uncertainty about the economy. So now we are challenged to change. And I asked, what is this pandemic challenging you? How are you going to change to respond to this situation? And then it was amazing how the focus changed from looking at answers outside to trying to find the answers and try to brainstorm things that we can do in order to continue on reaching our targets. And it was beautiful. I remember one of them said, well, I see that my bigger clients, the ones that wanted to commit for a 5-year-long contract, are feeling a little bit scared right now. So maybe I can offer maybe a monthly contract and a success pack and hours of implementation instead of the whole big project to have them start. And then somebody else said, well, I'm noticing how now my clients are just needing more reassurance about the action that they're about to take. So I think that this pandemic is requiring me to just do more demos and spend more time with them. So I need to organize my time to spend more time with these clients to convince them. So the focus changed completely from let me look at answers outside to let's figure out how do we deal with this situation. So you want to have your people motivated? Empower them. We're living in crazy times. We need to start organizing collaboration, something that used to happen so naturally at the office, where we will walk towards somebody and just ask a question. Now we're forced to organize this. In Odoo, we do 3 meetings per week, and I completely encourage having these at your organizations. We do 3 meetings per week where we discover any blocking points. And we do 1 big meeting every month where we go over the previous month's sales and also give a voice to everybody to share what worked, what didn't work. We make ourselves available. As managers, especially now, before they used to just scream questions to us and we will give them the answers. They will come to our desks, like I said. But now we need to be available. There often comes questions and there's not always the time to schedule an appointment to answer that, especially during closing week, the last couple months of the month, the last couple weeks of the month. Make yourself available. Third, give everybody a voice. I think that often we overestimate the importance of the opinion and the ideas that your employees could bring. So have a space, create a space where everybody can share their ideas, share their thoughts, share their strategies, share their mistakes. Like I said, we're living in crazy times. We have a pandemic, and 50% of the workforce is a millennial. All of my team members, including myself, is a millennial. What do we want? How do you guys, first, keep us in the organizations, and second, keep us happy and overachieving our targets? First, give us autonomy. Show us the path and get out of the way. Allow us to make mistakes, to make decisions. And last, purpose. Relate our work to what is most important to us. I was talking about Jimena earlier. She's the most organized team member I have. She has a 3-year-old called Mila. She's organized, not because of me, not because of Odoo. She's organized because if she's not organized, she's not going to have enough time to spend with Mila. So her purpose, her objective is Mila. And that drives her performance. I have Mark and Will on my team. They are extremely competitive. For them, the purpose is the goal. They want to be the best. They want to be top 5. They're not here only to sell licenses. They're here to be the best, to overachieve. For me, I don't work in Odoo to sell licenses. I work in Odoo because the change that we're doing in organizations inspires me. Because seeing the partners grow from silver, from ready to gold, motivates me. I'm here to empower users with the technology that they need to grow their business, and that's my purpose. So if you want to have effective team members and salespeople constantly selling, define your organizational structure, hire the right people, train them well, show them the habits for success, empower them, give them autonomy, and relate their work to what matters to them. Thank you.
Raul, what a great presentation. What a great talk. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, Lee.
I'm sure a lot of our partners did as well.
Thank you so much.
Let's jump right to the questions.
Of course.
Because we got a lot of questions from different channels. And the first one that we get here is, how long does the ramp-up period last on average?
Okay, so for all of our employees, which we also suggest you guys implement as partners these in your organizations, we take 3 months of ramp-up period. So I explained a little bit this during my presentation, but during these 3 months, all of our employees don't need to achieve quota. But Odoo covers this quota for them during these 3 months, and they really need to focus on understanding the product. It's a lot of product knowledge, it's a lot of demos, it's a lot of understanding the industry, a lot of understanding where Odoo stands and where Odoo plays inside the whole industry of the ERPs. And all of this takes us 3 months. And then on month 4, we go straight into production, and we go full motion into achieving those targets.
All right. A lot of these questions actually segue into from one to the other. They're asking us if partners should dedicate more time to going back to learning the product, or at least their salespeople, I guess, during these crazy pandemic times, as you call them, or should they acquire more leads and sell more? I guess, what a paradox, right?
Yeah, I think learning, it's something that you're going to have to do constant. You're going to have to update your knowledge on a constant basis if you want to keep on being relevant in the market. Also, because we launch one new version every year, and Fabian was explaining, we even launch intermediate versions throughout the year, almost once every 4 to 6 months. So learning has to happen on a constant basis. Sales cannot stop. So part of what I was telling in my presentation, one of the biggest challenges that we have as salespeople is time management and organization. So we have to manage both. We have to manage keeping learning about the product, keep on learning about the industry or customers, but at the same time, bring those sales.
Absolutely. And do you encourage new hires then from a sales role to then start selling since day one if they can?
Absolutely not. It goes back to the training, and this is something that we've implemented in Odoo and that we take very serious, and is the time that we take to really nurture the new hires and this learning process for them. So for sure, don't go straight into selling, but take the time to learn the product, learn everything before you start selling.
So since we're shaping up these new sales representatives, what do you think is more important to consider in the interviewing and the hiring process? experience or coachability? You touched on both items during your talk, but if you had to choose one, or if you had to evaluate and put one in a bucket or the other.
In Odoo, we definitely hire on skills and potential, not necessarily on experience. It could be, we could interview somebody that has a lot of experience, but they're not coachable or easy to manage, then that person might not fit with the Odoo culture.
Okay.
We're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing things, and we need people that are able to be coached and move fast. So we definitely prefer coachability than experience.
All right, great. So now moving away from training, they're asking us, once we're executing after ramp up, what do you recommend partners in order to maximize the every sale they make? I guess the level of monetization, the revenue from each sale, how can they maximize it?
This is a great question. And it goes back to understanding in depth the needs of your client. Truly diving into what the customer needs, what are their biggest pain points, but also, and there were amazing talks on the ROI during this conference, understanding how the pain points relate to other undiscovered pain points that they don't know yet. So try to discover things that they still don't know are a problem. So it goes all into understanding, get to know, and make a good qualification of your prospects.
Perfect. Now, back to training. How can a partner get access to the internal training that Odoo delivers?
Of course, all of our partners and everybody actually has access to the training that we offer. That's for free on odoo.com/slides. The only thing that we do different, and if you're a partner, you can reach out to your account manager, he can help you with this, is that we create use cases. So we have developed use cases of sample companies that have a particular need, and then the new employees have to demo these use cases to us. So they will demo how would they solve the use case using Odoo. And then we evaluate that and we give feedback and we talk about, they do 2 to 3 demos during those 3 months.
All right, perfect. Suggestions to a smaller partner who still does not have a dedicated salesperson. Okay, so
yeah, that's an amazing
CEO wants
question.
to sell.
Of course, that's an amazing question. And I'm going to go back to the interview that I did with Sebastian Rees, the CEO of Captivia. He said, Raul, I'm a software engineer. I didn't know sales before starting Odoo, but I understood that this was important for me, so I had to learn. And then he went into sales classes before starting with Odoo, and he started selling. So at the beginning, when you're a small unit business, you need to bring those sales. And then once you get these sales, you need to manage your time to don't stop bringing the new sales, implement some projects, but also bring people along that can help you out with those projects. And then eventually, if you don't want to keep on doing sales, delegate sales and go into a more management part position.
Right. And how do you implement ongoing training? You mentioned the new versions and the product changing constantly, but how do you manage that when you already have a salesperson in production and they have to take time away? Let's say the market is hot and they're super busy with sales. How can they build that discipline?
This is also another amazing question, and one of the challenges that we are facing right now during the pandemic as well. I think that it goes back to the collaboration part and being able to listen to the needs of your employees. If there's a repeated question that comes, then you know that there's a training to be done on that specific topic. So make sure that you give a voice to everybody first. Make sure that you know what are the struggles that your salespeople are doing. Organize those trainings and make them. We usually make them at the beginning of the month because we know that during the first couple of days of the month, things are less hectic than towards the end. But try to organize it in a time that everybody can commit.
Right.
And again, it goes back to organization. We need to make the time to reach our targets. That's our biggest and most important KPI. But at the same time, in order to reach these targets, we need to continue on learning and we need to make trainings and we need to attend to these trainings.
Thank you for that, Raul. And we're almost running out of time, so let's squeeze in the last couple questions.
Thanks.
Back to hiring. Any killer interview questions you like to use? Any samples?
I was part of an interview a couple of weeks ago, and this person came he used to have a company before in South America. Now
Okay.
he moved to the US, and he used to manage a lot of people. And he used to work in a similar industry, but not quite ERP. His company used to create apps. And my question to him was, well, you're coming to a completely different you're coming to a new industry in a new company. Now you're not the owner of your company. You're going to be part of a team. How will you do to adapt? What would be the first things that you would do to understand how everything works? And it was great because he said, well, what I would like to do is shadow somebody and get feedback from somebody and try to understand how things are working right now better, and try to go into my colleagues and ask them questions and get coaching from my superiors.
Right.
And then being that his first answer, give it completely the clue of, okay, this person, the first thing that he's going to get, he wants to reach out is for feedback, for coachability.
Right.
So he's coachable. And we hired him, by the way.
Great. That sounds great. The last question, again, back to hiring, we have to squeeze it in. How many salespeople should a new partner hire?
That depends on how fast you're growing and how fast are you bringing those sales.
Okay.
It's interesting because you will find Fabian's talks actually from last Odoo experience, saying that he recommends hiring 3 people. All right. right at once. Because the learning curve is easier for all of them, and maybe some of them might not make it. So that was his advice.
Right.
Another advice that he said is, if you notice that somebody's not working, better fire fast than later on the road.
That makes sense. That's a hard tip, hard advice, but good advice. Well, we ran out of time, Raul, but thank you very much. I'm sure people can reach out to you with other questions.
Of course, my Trigram, RSA, my email, rsa@odoo.com. Partners, remember, we have a technical training coming up on Monday. You still have time to sign up for it. Make sure that you do. Talk to your account managers. Best of the luck.
Thank you.